Welcome to the Kim Iverson Show. Thank you so much for being here tonight. So, we're going to take a break from the whirlwind of the new Trump administration, and we're going to talk about a story that is just now getting the attention it deserves. The mysterious, untimely death of OpenAI whistleblower Suchir Balaji. Suchir was a 26-year-old AI researcher who worked for OpenAI, which makes ChatGPT, from 2020 until he resigned this past August. He played a crucial role in gathering and organizing internet data used to train GPT-4, the language model behind ChatGPT. And he knew the program really well. He knew what it took to create it. Balaji had grown deeply disillusioned with OpenAI's business practices, which he alleged were ethically dubious and legally questionable. His main concern? That OpenAI's products, including ChatGPT, violated U.S. copyright laws by training on creators' content without authorization, then producing outputs that effectively replaced the original works. Balaji took his findings public in an essay titled, "When Does Generative AI Qualify for Fair Use?" Using mathematical analysis, he concluded that OpenAI's outputs failed the four-factor test for fair use under U.S. copyright law. Basically, creators and news organizations were being stolen from, and it was threatening their livelihoods. In an interview with the New York Times, Suchir stated, "If you believe what I believe, you have to just leave the company," and leave he did. But he didn't stop there. Balaji's whistleblowing opened the floodgates for lawsuits against OpenAI. At the time of his death, Suchir was playing a pivotal role in several high-profile and highly consequential cases, providing expert testimony, and most importantly, when he left the company, he took evidence with him. These lawsuits could completely change the AI game and could cost OpenAI and Microsoft, their main partner and investor, billions upon billions of dollars. Some of the companies suing OpenAI and Microsoft include several news organizations such as the New York Times, the Chicago Tribune, and New York Daily News, a coalition of Canadian media companies such as The Globe and Mail, CBC Radio Canada. Several Asian news organizations have filed suit as well. Numerous authors and artists have accused the companies of theft and have filed suits, including Sarah Silverman, Christopher Golden, and Richard Kadri. The Authors Guild filed a class action lawsuit against OpenAI, alleging the company's technology illegally copied their copyrighted works. And several high-profile authors have joined in on that particular suit, including John Grisham. Suchir's testimony and evidence were in high demand and could prove to be the very testimony and evidence needed to win these suits. Yet suddenly, he was found dead. Police and the medical examiner spent only 40 minutes investigating before ruling his death a suicide. But when you look at the evidence, suicide just doesn't add up. Suchir had just returned from a weekend birthday trip with his buddies. All of his friends say he was happy and there were no signs of distress. He last spoke to his parents, whom we are going to be speaking to here in a moment, on his birthday. But when they didn't hear from their only child after 2 days, they started to grow concerned. At first, Purnima Romero, his mother, thought he might have lost his phone or gone hiking. By Monday, when she still hadn't heard from him, she went to his apartment and knocked on the door, but received no answer. She started calling around to hospitals to see if he had been injured. When none of the local hospitals reported him, she felt a little bit of relief, thinking maybe he was okay after all. But then after not hearing from him for another day, Purnima went to Suchir's apartment, received no answer again, then called the police asking for a welfare check. They made Purnima stand outside the building, and after discovering Suchir's body, the police refused to give Purnima the news. Instead, they told her they needed to call another unit. And more officers arrived, went into the apartment, and came out of the building. And again, when she asked, they refused to tell Purnima the terrible news that her son was dead. It was only when the white coroner's van showed up that Purnima found out. That's how she found out. The van showing up, that her only child was dead. It was then that the coroners told her that there was, in fact, a dead body in the apartment. After a very short investigation of just mere minutes, the police told Purnima that her son had killed himself. They gave her the keys to the apartment, and they told her when she could collect his body from the morgue. And that was it. She told the police her son was a whistleblower and involved in several high-profile cases, but they shrugged her off. She was left with a blood-soaked apartment to clean and a set of keys. But when Purnima went into the apartment and looked around, everything was off. Items were everywhere, health bars on the floor, clothing on the bed, the closet was a mess. Now, one could write this off as a 26-year-old bachelor not being very tidy, but Purnima has been to Suture's apartment many, many times and insists he was fairly tidy. This was not normal. The apartment looked ransacked. Nothing typical was stolen. His computers and electronics were still there, but Purnima says his portable drive was missing. Then there was the scene of Suture's death. There were several places of unexpected blood that indicate Suture had been perhaps standing or crawling and also sitting, all while bleeding. Blood drops were found in the sink, splatter found on the walls and the door. The trash can was knocked over. There was one AirPod under the sink and one laying in the pool of blood outside the bathroom, as if he was wearing AirPods when he was shot. There was also a piece of a wig. Suture didn't wear a wig, but an attacker trying to mask their identity might. Then there was the autopsy. The police ruled Suture's death a suicide and didn't do an autopsy, so Suture's parents had to hire a private medical examiner on their own, and the findings were astonishing. The trajectory of the bullet was at a downward angle. The bullet entered just above the right eyebrow, and the angle which Suture would have had to have been holding the gun is extremely awkward and not really seen in suicide cases. Not only this, the autopsy revealed an additional injury on the back of Suture's head. Suture had no history of depression. He had never attempted suicide before. His friends and family say there were no signs. And on top of this, there was no note. An only child who talks to his parents nearly every single day didn't leave a note. So when you add all of this up on top of the multiple billion-dollar lawsuits, you see a motive, and it's just unreasonable to conclude in a quick 40-minute investigation that Suture simply killed himself. So the parents have been reaching out to the media, hoping to get enough press on this to pressure the San Francisco police or the FBI to investigate. They luckily were invited onto Tucker Carlson's show, which of course received a huge audience. And that interview was even commented on by Elon Musk, who also is in a lawsuit against OpenAI. During the interview, Tucker texted Congressman Ro Khanna to see if there was anything he could do. So we have joining us tonight Suture Balaji's parents, his mother Purnima, and his father Balaji, to give us an update on what has happened with this investigation since they were on Tucker's show. Purnima, Balaji, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for hosting us.
I am so sorry for your loss. I can't even imagine what the two of you are going through, and also just having to deal with fighting with the authorities to get a proper investigation on top of dealing with the loss is just unfathomable, I think, for many of us. Since your Tucker Carlson interview, which millions of people saw, which is great that you were able to have that kind of a platform, access to that kind of a platform. I know that during the interview, he text messaged Ro Khanna. What has happened since then? Did you hear from Congressman Ro Khanna?
Yes, Rokanda contacted us immediately after the Tucker Carlson show.
Oh,
He
great.
promised us to get FBI investigation. He didn't make any promise or cooperation from the state. In
Yeah.
fact, Gavin Newsom has been informed as well. We haven't heard from him at all.
So Ro Khanna at least reached out. I know that from the statements that he had issued saying that he won't be able to take congressional action, but he certainly is looking for the FBI, passing information along to the FBI to get a proper investigation done. I've read reports lately over the last couple of days that the case has been reopened. Is that, where is the investigation at this point?
Investigation has been closed by police on December 30th. We did reach out to the police through our attorney, Phil Kenny, and in response to the deputy chief of police, all he did was he just looked at the CCTV footage and he looked at all the evidence collected by medical examiner. He concluded suicide and he closed it. The reason police are escaping from this is because medical examiner has not released the autopsy report and toxicology report. Until then, they have an umbrella to cover that it's under investigation. Tomorrow, we're going to the police station directly with the media and our attorney and get the status posted out.
So why are we seeing reports that the investigation has been reclassified as opened?
It's just a cover up, another cover up from police. They just give
So they're
wrong information.
claiming,
They're how doc-
who gave them that? Who gave that information to the press? Did somebody from the press contact the police and they've said, "Oh, we've
Yes,
reclassified this as open"? That's what they've.
yes.
But they never contacted you to say the investigation is open. We're going to look into this more.
There's no police report at all because medical examiner closed the case as suicide. There's no police report number. We don't have anything at all that has been open. It's that frustrating and horrible.
Yeah, I would imagine. So there's been no going back to the crime scene to it's still when you were on Tucker show, you'd said that you have left the apartment completely intact, that
Yes,
you haven't touched anything, you haven't cleaned anything, that you're
right.
wanting an investigator to go in there and actually look at everything again. And
Yes,
is that still the case?
that's still the
Good.
case. And we are looking into
Ugh.
hiring private investigators. It's been almost 2 months, and police haven't even come to the unit to investigate even once. We wrote to chief of police yesterday, gave them all the mistakes or the errors they have made in investigation, all the evidences that have been left out. We'll come to that at the next section. We wrote to that to chief of police, medical examiner, city administrator, executive director of medical examiner. We wrote to all of them yesterday.
So how so they did a 40-minute investigation and they ruled your son's death a suicide. Did they give you any information as to why they thought it was for sure suicide? I mean, you've been pressing them. It's been 2 months. You've been talking to them. What do they say to you every time you call or go down to the police station? Do they just say, "Ma'am, case closed"? I mean, what do they or do they give you, "Look, this is more evidence that leads us to believe it was suicide"? Do they give you any information?
Nothing new, absolutely nothing new has been considered since the crime scene when the body was picked up. Only thing they told us, I think, number one, my son bought the gun for self defense a year ago. They said, gun belonged to your son. We saw the CCTV footage. Nobody went inside, nobody came out of the building. He was all by himself, so he shot himself. That's all they said. Seriously. Nothing has
Okay.
changed in this statement.
Okay. So let's start with the gun. Um, at the crime scene, there was the gun case and a certificate that wasn't a purchase certificate. It was like a request to whatever the process is. So it was like an application, I believe, what was that? What was the certificate exactly that was found?
Yeah, the certificate says it's still waiting for approval. It doesn't show actually the gun actually was authorized to my son. But what's missing there is a bullet in the gun box itself. We're still looking at like how many bullets did the case have and how many has been picked up by police. There itself
Mhm.
we have some kind of evidence that they have not used my son's gun to shoot him. He's been shot.
Right. But since the crime scene, since his death, they run the serial number of the gun and then they came back to you and said, "We know for sure he purchased this gun, that this was his gun."
They have not done anything. In fact, we have put in a spoliation request to medical examiner asking them to preserve his toxicology parts because we don't trust anything coming from them. We do have evidence. We're waiting for the right time to release it to the court.
If you can't remember the last time you slept all night or didn't feel stressed during the day, you need to hear about CBD from CB Distillery. They've got natural solutions for sleep and stress that people can't stop raving about. Check out some of their 48,000 five-star reviews, like "the best sleep I've gotten in years," or "I wake up feeling refreshed and ready to go." And it's not just sleep. They have plant-based solutions to help with stress, mood, and focus, even pain after exercise. I personally really like the sleep products. I have a really hard time sleeping, and CBD from CB Distillery really helps a lot. I even have many of my family members and friends using CB Distillery sleep products as well. Look, there's a lot of CBD out there, but I trust CB Distillery for their commitment to quality. Their products are all made with high quality, clean ingredients. That's why they have over 2 million satisfied customers and offer a 100% money back guarantee. So if you're still struggling with sleep, stress, or other health concerns, maybe it's time to try something different. CBD from CB Distillery. And I've got a 20% discount to get you started. Visit cbdistillery.com and use code Kim for 20% off. That's cbdistillery.com, code Kim, cbdistillery.com. Thanks for watching this clip from the full Kim Iverson Show. If you want to watch the full show, visit KimIversonShow.com. The show airs every Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Again, it's KimIversonShow.com. See you there.